I'm a front-end developer and UX designer at Rudder. So as you can guess, I'm not going to talk about config management, but rather about the Rudder interface. We are going to see what the UX challenges of a UI-centric config management tool can be and what improvements we could make to improve that. So, as you may know, the interface of Rudder is one of its biggest strengths compared to our competitors. Since the beginning, it has been developed to be easily used by everyone. It's not an easy task to develop an interface for a config management tool, because we want to configure a lot of things on potentially a lot of servers. So all this must fit into one single interface. In addition, Rudder integrates more and more features. So because of these evolutions, it makes it hard for us to take a step back and analyze what are the main flaws of the current interface. So today, we're gonna see what are these flaws and what improvements we could make to improve that. I'm gonna talk about that through the story of Mike. Mike is a sysadmin. Mike is a cool guy, so cool that he uses Rudder to configure and audit his servers. He uses it almost every day and makes everything through the interface. But sometimes it makes him frustrated. We're gonna see what and why. Mike remembers the first day he wanted to use Rudder to configure a bunch of test servers. So logically, he went to the group page looking for a create button. He found it easily as it is located at the top left corner of the interface. So surprisingly, after clicking on it, a pop-up window appears. Inside this window, there is a form. This form contains mandatory fields, so he has to fill the form to save and close the pop-up. After that, his first group was created, but without any node inside. So he has to fill another form and save another time to create his first groups with nodes. So 5 steps to create a group. Click on the create button, fill a first form inside a window, save and close this window, fill another form and save another time. 5 steps. That's not really great. But at least, Mike thinks he knows how to create objects in Rudder, so next time it should be quicker, right? So self-confident, he went to the directives page. On this directives page, we were looking for a create button located at the top left corner, as in the group page. But here, he didn't find it. After reloading and digging the page, he finally managed to find it by clicking on a technique. The button appears in the technique details at the right side of the screen. So after clicking on this button, there is no pop-up this time, but a long form appears. He has to fill the form and save his change to create his first directives with parameters. So now, only 4 steps to create a directive. He has to click on a technique, click on the create button, fill a long form and save his change. 4 steps, that's better than 5. But the fact that the user journey to create a directive is different from the one to create a group make him waste time, so it wasn't faster for him. The process to create a rule is about the same as the one to create a group, except that this time the create button is located at the top right of the interface. So once again, one more difference. These 3 scenarios were identical. Mike just wanted to create things. But every time the user journey was different. So it's not really a big deal for someone who daily uses Rudder because he knows where buttons are and general information are. But for someone who tries Rudder for the first time, it can be really confusing and make him waste time. So to avoid that, we are considering the use of templates. We could have a first 2-column layout for pages like groups, rules, directives, and nodes. This is approximately what we use today in Rudder, but as we just saw, we are doing it not correctly because buttons are never located at the same place. With this template, create button, for example, will be always located at the top left corner of the interface, and other buttons at the top right. We could have another layout, for example, for table, like the API accounts page or parameters page, and a one-page layout for page like settings, which is just a single page, but I think in this new layout, this page could be put inside a container to make it more easier to read. Now, mics perfectly know where buttons are and where general information are. But there is another thing that makes him waste time and nerves. This thing is our notification system, or I mean notification systems, because in Rudder we have several notification systems. The first one is pop-ups. We have messages too that appears next to button, and we have notification in the technique editor. The problem with pop-ups is that they bother the user. They completely stop him in his user journey. He has to stop what he was doing to close the pop-up, and that's it. Messages are difficult to see. They appear next to the button, as you can see on the GIF, but they have no color and no icon, so it's difficult to see if it's an error or a success. So these messages do not directly bother the user, but it makes it waste time, because to know what this message means, he has to read it. To improve that, we are looking for using notifications. Notifications have big advantages. They fit on any page because they appear at the top of the interface, and they require user action only if necessary. For example, we could have a success notification which appears when user, for example, successfully saves change. This pop-up will automatically disappear after a few seconds. We could have warning and error notification which only disappear when the user clicks on it, because these notifications are important, so they require the user focus. Thanks to this notification, mics will not waste time anymore. But there is a last more thing which makes him less productive. It's the page complexity. Today, in the current interface, all object properties can be accessed and edited in the same form. For example, in the directives page, when we want to see the value of one parameter, we have to open a directives, and we will see all of these details. We don't want to see all of these details, we just want to see one of its parameters. So there is an advantage. If we want to see a parameter or an information about a directive, we know that we just have to open this long form. But the disadvantage is the same. Everything is accessible in the same place. So we know that this specific parameter is located inside this long form, but we don't know exactly where. Every time Mike has to find a parameter's value, he feels like he is playing Where is Waldo? The concept of Where is Waldo is simple. We have to find a guy inside a large room with lots of other people around him that make him really hard to find. In the directives form, this is approximately the same. When we want to find an information, it makes it really hard to find because it is located around a lot of other information. It would be easier to find Waldo if it was located in the smaller room with less people around him. It's the same for parameter in the directives form. It could be easier to find them if they are located on other category. So to improve that, we want to introduce a new edit mode. By default, we don't want to edit things. maybe not. So we could have this sleek display instead of a form, because form makes things hard to read because of the borders of inputs and all extra details we have. Thanks to this new display, we could easier categorize information, and it takes up less space, so we have a more sleek display. We could easily find information. When we switch to the edit mode, like if we want to create something like a group, we are considering the use of multi-steps form. This kind of form is largely used in e-commerce. They are less intimidating than a long form with a scroll bar, and it allows to highlight easier highlight important details. There is another advantage, is that user can save and quit the process at any time, because the form is divided into several sections. So now we just saw several improvements that could be done to make the interface, to improve the interface of Rudder. But now, how to implement these solutions? We had to work iteratively. We already implement notification because it was a quick fix, and for us, a quick win. But for the other improvements, we have to develop a new interface. By developing a new interface, I mean we are moving from Angular to Elm, because JavaScript is nice, but it's really hard to maintain. We could, thanks to the API, create dynamic interface. Today, the entire interface of Rudder do not use the IPA of Rudder. Just some parts use it. So thanks to that, we could remove all CSS and JavaScript libraries to improve performance. But all of this will take us lots of time. So I think we have to modify our development process, and we want to implement a new process which is called design thinking. Design thinking is a process based on the intuitive workflow process of a designer. The team is led through iterative loops which take the participant through 6 stages. The first stage, empathize with the user. Next, define users' needs and objectives. Then ideas. In this stage, we have to share lots of ideas about these objectives and these user needs. There is no bad idea. Everyone should share a maximum of ideas. After that, we have the synthesize phase, which consists to prioritize these ideas and remove all of the non-important ideas. After this stage, we have the prototype stage, which consists to prototype these ideas. And then the test stage, which consists to develop prototypes that we just created before. So why is design thinking what we need? It reduces the risk associated with launching new ideas, and it will help us to learn faster. And last thing, it generates solutions that are innovative, not just incremental. So in summary, we already introduced a new notification system. We want to introduce new templates and a new edit mode. And to do that, we are improving our development process. So everything I just presented in this talk is just idea. We are at the beginning of the reflection, so nothing is made except notifications. So we are waiting your feedbacks, and it's time to open user stories if you have ideas to improve the Rudder interface. So thank you all. If you have any questions, do not hesitate. No question? Yeah? Sorry? Okay, great.
Do you think it's possible with the notification box, if it gives an error, and the user corrects something and clicks save, and the next operation works, it goes away automatically?
Is this possible? Yeah, I think, yeah, sure.
That would be very nice.
Okay.
A lot nicer for the user, because otherwise he has already fixed it,
Mm-hmm.
the operation is gone,
Yeah.
but the error one is still there, and that's, at least for me, it always works.
Yeah, currently that's the case, but I think we could improve that. Yeah, it should be possible, yeah.
And do you also, have you also thought about how the trees are currently?
Sorry?
Like all the trees, group structures and so on right now, if I have, I don't know, hundreds of objects, and
Mm-hmm.
I'm looking for one and another one, and I have to close them, all of them, or I click the close button and fold one open. But later, if I go back to that menu, or if I select this thing and that thing, then suddenly the tree is unfolded again.
Okay, so we could save the state of the tree?
It should memorize them basically.
Yeah?
As
Okay,
long
I
as
see.
you stay the same in UI or something.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
It's very weird there still.
Yeah, this is interesting. Yeah, I think it should.
Have you noticed it?
I think there is already a ticket open on Redmine about that. I'm pretty sure, but I understood the need, so I think it could be a great improvement. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Now the question? Yeah.
I'm just curious about you bringing up design thinking. It's a pretty rigorous framework for developing new features, but it's something that I have looked at a little bit and tried to use for some projects.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if you could say a little bit more about like the scope of which you intend to use it for, like only some type of features or anything, or what's the idea there? I think this can be really powerful, but it's not the fastest or easiest way to approach a problem.
We just start to implement this process, so we are not professional, but there is something hard for us. Is the first stage, the empathize stage, which consists to collect user feedbacks. It's easy for an e-commerce site, for example, to collect user data, but for us, it's more complicated. So we have to think how to collect user feedback and to go to the next stage. So we will iterate a lot to implement this new process, but today we are not completely sure that it could fit for our needs. I think, like you, that it's really powerful, and this is something that we need, because today we are not taking too much time about the interface, and this is what we have so many flaws in it. So maybe we will not implement this new process by following the art, the state of the art, but we could try to implement it.
I think that there is a specialty also that in Rudder, each screen are very different from this one. They are independent. So it's more easier for us to just change one first that is very different on some icon and move on just by iterations because it's not. This is also why it's so different, and there's so different way to do it between screens because of that. So first thing is just ensuring that each screen will be how we can say that converted to the same experience on each screen and after.
Yeah.
Holding on.
Yeah, we have to proceed iteratively because we can't change all of the interface in a single time, in one time. Yeah.
But do you think, I think this is really interesting, so do you think maybe to start a design thinking process around like one page or one specific
exactly.
problem, and then create kind of a golden standard, and then converge all the other pages to the same user experience?
Mm-hmm.
Or will you do the same kind of full design thinking workflow for all the different experiences within the UI?
There is some component which appears on every page, like notification.
Yeah.
So this component is easy to implement because it's just a small component which can fit on all page, and it looks the same no matter the page we are. So for this kind of component, it's not really hard to focus on it and implement it. But for other page, like if we want to implement new templates for other page, it could be a lot more difficult. So I think we will start to focus on a single page, like the groups page. This is why I created a small mockup. This page is, I think, the older one in Rudder. We don't work a lot on this page. This last year maybe. So this is a page that needs the lots of the more of how to say.
There is a big gap.
Yeah, thank you. There is a big gap between this page and the other page. So maybe we could try to implement templates on this page and see if it works or not. So we will try page by page and see the result.
Thank you.
Thank you.